Listeners everywhere, welcome to the Movie Show with Joel and Ryan, the weekly fix for your screen addiction and a trusted source for discussion of all things film and television. Please keep in mind that for the purposes of this podcast, Joel and Ryan are not acting as journalists, but rather fellow moving picture enthusiasts. All of their opinions should be taken as such. Also, please be warned that while Joel and Ryan may seem like petulant children, they are, in fact, adults who may occasionally use adult language. While they promise to bleep out all the worst words, it's a good bet you will still understand what they were saying. And now, with no further ado, here's Joel and Ryan.
Welcome to the Movie Show with Joel and Ryan. I am Joel.
And I'm Ryan.
Yeah, he is. He is indeed. And we are back again for another episode. We took a week off there because I had some work stuff. We have some other stuff coming up. So I think so we'll be off next week unless I decide to just record a solo show and make Ryan release it. But more than likely, we're going to be off next week. That was my mouth speaking before my brain registered what it was saying. But
you still owe the Movie Show a solo episode.
I do, and maybe since I was responsible for us taking last week off, maybe I'll put that out.
Who knows? Maybe I'll just sit here like this week, and this will be the solo episode that you didn't even know that you were going to be making.
You know what? Let me hold on a second. I get to check off. I'm looking at our master list, and I get to cross out one of the things that we've done.
What's that?
Studio logos.
Oh yeah.
And title really sequences. That. Yeah. So
we didn't really do that. We just sort of stuck our foot in the shallow end of the pool a little bit, but
all right, well, I'll leave it up then if we ever want to do a deep dive into studio logos. But that was the last show was us attempting to talk about just a whole hodgepodge of stuff
just
that we
touch on a few things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so. And
this show is a just show up and start talking and see if anything cool comes out of our mouths.
This is very new for us. This will be
a first because we don't really have a set topic today, but
yeah, literally when the very first time when Ryan and I are like, okay, we're going to do a podcast. Let's just so we got together and we just hit record. We were sitting on the couch at your place and we hit record. And we talked for like 2 hours. But even then we sort of had a set, like, here's what we're going to talk about.
Well, I had at least a couple things in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
I guess I got a couple things in the back of my mind today, too. So it's not nothing. We're not completely disrespectful. And it's like, well, let's see if everyone will show up and just listen to us
That's true.
Say nothing. That's not how we want this to be. But, and if this sucks, it must not suck if you're listening to it. But if you're not, then that little phrase I just said will mean nothing because you won't be listening to it.
You won't be listening to it. We'll go, ooh, this was bad. This was a mistake.
This was a bad idea. But last week was fun. Studio logos, like I say, I hate to say, oh, don't cross it off your list, but I do hope literary adaptations, cameos, I hope those are all things that we revisit from time to time, actually, rather than just move on from, because they were really just, let's just talk a little bit about these. And maybe even today, if we run out of stuff, we could talk a little bit more about a couple of them. They're things that, they're topics that are interesting and that endure. They're big. They're as big as every movie ever made. Not every movie has a studio logo. Pearl Harbor does not have a studio logo at the beginning of it. It's very unusual, and very disorienting.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I remember sitting there in the theater. I've got a couple of great Pearl Harbor stories. Well, did I say a couple? Yeah, two. One, no logo. So what's happening? Oh, this is how the movie starts. Really weird. I mean, it's Pearl Harbor would have been Touchstone, I believe. So it was a Disney movie, but I think it was Touchstone and a Bruckheimer movie.
Yeah.
So there would have been a couple of logos that we should have saw. And that it's weird that those, I mean, people maybe don't love them or get into them or whatever like I do, but but they do get you ready for the film. They just give you that moment to breathe and to shut up and to do the couple little things before you dive right into a story like that. And Pearl Harbor not having a logo at the beginning of it, it was an artistic decision, but it's a bad one. It's like it's a bad one. And then of course the other
one could say it was the first of many questionable artistic decisions of that movie.
It's weird. Pearl Harbor, when I first saw the trailer for Pearl Harbor, which is really just, and this moment in the film is really amazing, where it just shows the Japanese tigers, just like flying over normal parts of Hawaii, like there are people playing a softball game and somebody's doing laundry and stuff. And I remember seeing that and going, oh, I want to watch this right now. This looks really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And that part of it, I mean, Michael Bay knows how movies are supposed to look, and even at some points he inherently knows how they're supposed to feel, but he doesn't, like Joel's idea about his solo show, he doesn't bring any thought really to it outside of what it is technically. Mm-hmm. And you feel that. And he didn't write that script. He didn't write any of his scripts, but you can just feel a director who just runs full steam into sort of shitty cliched writing and doesn't have a censor for it. Like, just doesn't have any sort of built-in thing that says this lacks integrity.
Right.
Case in point, Joel, my second Pearl Harbor story.
Pearl Harbor story.
There's a moment in Pearl Harbor, and it's been a long, long time since I've seen Pearl Harbor, but I just know that this is true. There's a moment in it, and I'm bad with numbers and dates. So Joel, you'll have to remind me the date that which will live in infamy, except with me apparently, happened.
December 7th, 1941.
December 7th. So on a Japanese aircraft carrier, or maybe it's a submarine, I'm not sure, but in a control room of one of the ships that's coming towards us to start America's involvement in World War II, there's a page-a-day calendar hanging on the wall in English that says December 6th on it. And as this scene happens with this Japanese commander and stuff, basically an expositional scene, this is what's happening militarily in the movie. At the end of it, some crewman leans over and rips off the 6, and it says December 7th on it. And a couple seats down from me, this old lady who was watching Pearl Harbor with me and my friend goes, and I remember thinking, because this is well into the movie now, I remember thinking, hey, good, this movie is for that lady. You know what I mean? Like, hey, it found its audience here. Because the rest of us were kind of, what? You know what I mean? Remember this story that Ben Affleck tells when he gets back? He's like, when he finds out that his best friend and his beloved are like together now while he's been gone, presumed dead. And he tells his story. And an actor telling a story is a cool thing. And Ben Affleck's I think, a pretty good actor. And he does this whole thing where he's like, I was shut down in France, and then I escaped a camp and joined the French resistance. And then I did this and I did that and I did this. And the only thing that would keep me alive was you, baby, or something, just the dumbest war cliche ever. But I remember at the end of that speech, I leaned over to my friend and I go, geez, that sounds like a pretty good movie. What?
Yep.
They should have made that movie. This movie's stupid. So, a little Pearl Harbor. When in doubt, there's things you can talk about. Pearl Harbor is a good one. Pearl Harbor is a good barometer for whether you're going to like a critic or not. It's because most critics aren't in love with it. Mm-hmm. But the way they're not in love with it, you can kind of read their thing. Another really good one, a movie every critic hated, was Battlefield Earth. And Battlefield Earth, Travolta and L. Ron Hubbard's Battlefield Earth is, well, the great thing about the reviews for that is that's, to a reviewer, that's a gift on a silver platter. Here's this movie that's as wrong-headed and stupid and hilariously stupid. And it really is, Battlefield Earth really is a so bad it's good movie. I can see how, if at the time, if you thought it might be good, like you'd be disappointed or whatever, but you can pop it in, and even at 2 hours and 20 minutes, that movie is super enjoyable because of how just totally crazy stupid it is. It's wonderful in that way, in fact, because even though the bad guys, the Cyclos, are Forrest Whitaker and John Travolta, are a crazy, over-the-top, cartoonish, comedic villains, if you will. They really are not scary. They're just super stupid and incompetent, and they're just loud, and they yell at each other, and they're terrible. The good guys' side of the story, being held down by, who's the kid?
Barry Pepper. Barry Pepper.
Who's really good at doing it, like just keeping a straight face throughout that movie, which if he were hamming it up, you know what I mean? Or if he were being even slightly cheesy in it, that film wouldn't be watchable. You would feel like if he were doing what Travolta was doing, you'd feel the whole facade would break. But Pepper just really bravely sticks to his guns in that film. And as a result, all these years later, as dumb as it is, as bad as it looks, it's something about it that's so crazy. It's so crazy stupid. It's like on another level. And if you ever read a review by a critic who had to write a review on Battlefield Earth, that review should be the most biting, funniest thing that they got to write. It should at least be in that group for them. Yeah. And so you can test them and test us out by how we respond to that. It's set like 100,000 years in the future, some impossible time, some L. Ron Hubbard just threw a number out there.
This is the IMDb tag on it. It is the year 3000 AD, and the Earth is lost to an alien race of Cyclos. Humanity is enslaved by these gold-thirsty tyrants who are unaware that their man-animals are about to ignite the rebellion of a lifetime.
Nice. That's a great synopsis, actually.
So good.
So 2,000 years in the future. Either way, if I'll tell you, put a Volkswagen out in your driveway, go to sleep for 2,000 years, wake up in the morning and try and drive it to work. It's not going to fly. It's just not going to go. Even if nobody touches it, even if no one comes near it, there's no chance that thing survives in functioning order. And of course, the big action scene, the assault at the end of Battlefield Earth, spoiler alert for Battlefield Earth, is they're in the Colorado at the Air Force Academy. They find all these F-15s or whatever, and they quickly learn how to fly them, like in a half an hour or so. I don't know. It's not like a week. I don't know how long it takes. And then they use those to attack, and that's so. I mean, I get it. It's just a dumb fantasy adventure movie, but it's so unthinkably impossible and stupid. And if that's your approach to stuff, and poor Roger Christian, who directed that, he's a really accomplished art director in movies throughout the years, but a pretty crappy film director. But even he sort of had that hijacked from him in a way, from the army of this sort of competing army. It's like a competition of stupidity. The Scientologist producers and the big Hollywood suits, all of whom were involved in this thing, tugged and pulled here when quality movie was way over there, and it just made it just totally stupid. But I like Battlefield Earth because, I said it the other day when we were watching the Super Bowl. I guess that's a long time ago now. Valentine's Day. Yeah. And people really enjoyed this, so I don't want to keep harping on Cocaine Bear, but I just saw that, and I remember everybody's like, ooh, and I was like, I trot out this phrase. You probably heard me say it on the show before. I said, I feel like nobody who ever set out to make a bad movie ever made a good one by accident. And that's sort of where my heart is with just that kind of material. So I expect that I couldn't let go and have fun with something like that, which is why I haven't seen it and probably won't. But
it is available
now
to stream on Peacock.
Yeah, but Battlefield Earth, which is much worse in every way, and everyone hated it. It's not like it's, but it because they set out to make a good movie, and because there's several people in it, even the people hamming it up earnestly wanted to make a great summer blockbuster with these ideas at their core, and failed. Like its failure makes me sympathize with it in some weird way, whereas succeeding at making something cheesy and shitty seems like not something to be celebrated.
Right. Yeah.
It's just a different way. I mean, it's not a totally different way of looking at the world, but that's how I've always viewed these things. It's like Snakes on a Plane could be great, but you had to try and make it good. You let the crazy idea let yourself off the hook, and so it's not good. So
yes.
So you don't have a chance. I can't remember the director that was supposed to direct that. He came in and saved the name, like Justin Lin or something, or I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody who directs stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's a Japanese national director, but he was the one who came in and said, "Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that," and he was the one who, Sam Jackson was like, "Well, we're going to change the name to something." And he's like, "No, the name has to stay. The name's the whole thing. The name's the marketing campaign. It's everything. You can't change the name. I'm not doing it if you change the name." So like, okay, we'll keep the name, whatever's fine. But he wanted to make a good movie. His whole approach to it was to make a scary ass monster movie where these people are trapped on a plane with these killer things. And the people in charge just didn't understand that approach to a corny idea. So he eventually took a walk, and it was directed by much more, a competent B-movie and TV movie hack who just, again, leaned into the crappiness of the idea. And worse, the studio wanted it to be PG-13, and then it was one of those films where everyone complained. And in this case, it was like, well, it's not like some big family movie, so let's make it rated R. So there are these weird, like, naked and bloody inserts put into the thing that are all basically terrible. They didn't set out to make a good movie, so they never could have made a fun bad one. You have to try. I just really believe that lack of effort is in there. And again, not to bring it back to Cocaine Bear, which is a similar kind of movie, but a very popular and successful one. There must be something better made about that, clearly. Although Elizabeth Banks' first movie was the Charlie's Angels film. She's a smart performer and talks about storytelling in a very intelligent way. So I think that intelligence can save the day, but I still feel like that you really did set out to let us off the hook, other than to giggle and to jump. Like, we've not asked to do anything else here, right? Or invest anything more here. And I just feel like I have to be asked to do that. And Battlefield Earth, and even Pearl Harbor, man, just, you can line up some of these worst movies. They're at least asking you to do that and putting themselves through the paces of trying to make you feel something. It does make a difference. I really believe that in my heart. So
Ronnie,
I don't feel like a Battlefield Earth or Pearl Harbor deep dive is coming. So
no.
Hey, listener, what do you think about Pearl Harbor
and Battlefield
Earth and Snakes on a Plane?
Are you team cyclos or are you team man animals?
It's a choice every young person has to make at one point in their lives. And
truth.
I think Battlefield Earth might surprise you.
It was Ronnie.
You can really think you're on, team man animal, and yet sort of kind of mess it up at every stage. We know who's team Cyclo in that. There's no doubt about that.
Correct. Ronnie Yu was originally attached.
Ronnie Yu, sorry, and I'm getting my Asian director names mixed up. I really apologize for that. But yes, it's worth pointing out that Ronnie Yu is a high energy, let's go for it and do it filmmaker. And it just, that film in every way, like it was the perfect match, that it would have benefited from him staying on and them just sort of leaving him alone with this. Even if the script was the same, I think he would have made a genuinely scary and tougher around the edges film that could have lived up to that fun idea of what it's called. You know, I probably, my point was, it critically, the audience out there, it feels like Cocaine Bear actually fulfills that sort of gonzo promise. And that's neat, at least. I do appreciate that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cocaine Bear. Yeah, Cocaine Bear, available to stream on Peacock exclusively.
Check it out.
Check it out, Cocaine
Bear. From NBC Universal.
Yep. Warner Brothers,
streaming,
real quick, Warner Brothers, real quick, still has, if you type in battlefieldearth.net, Warner Brothers still has a kind of a holding slide with information about the movie still on it. So
they should.
Yeah.
They may do a reboot someday.
Yeah. So when so if you're like looking at your VHS copy of Battlefield Earth and you're like, oh, hey, here it looks at battlefieldearth.net. I wonder. Yeah, it's still there, folks. Go and watch clips of Barry Pepper.
Speaking of Warner Brothers, I'm going to let you do something.
Okay.
I'm going to let you play the Ryan's Video Corner theme.
Ryan's Video Corner.
It's really long for this little short thing we're going to talk about, but we haven't played it in a long time, and it really is fantastic. So let's all listen to it together.
As soon as I can find it here. I did not order anything here. Let's see. That's not it. That's not it. That's not the one. That is not the one that is going to help us.
I can play it, but then only the audio people will hear it.
Yeah,
the video
people
just stare at us looking at the screen.
This makes me very frustrated that I cannot find it, because normally I have these things like right here and clearly labeled.
We've been honest about what this show is from the start, and I did spring that on you. So
it's not this one.
Based on the incredible true story.
No, that is literally me filling time. It is not. Let's see. It is not this one.
Who am I?
Why? Where is it? Wait a minute, man. Is there a Ryan's Video Corner? Okay, ready? Here we go.
Video. It's the only way to get what you want to watch when you want to watch it. Action, adventure, horror, comedy, drama, suspense, romance. Great entertainment. Always a great value.
Video, it's what you want to watch.
Right? That was worth the wait.
That was absolutely worth the wait, and don't you dare tell me otherwise, listener.
We talked about this on the show before, but it's worth mentioning again that the usually totally plays it straight Rob Dunkelberger, in answer to a question Joel asked on the show as to who sang that video, it's what you want to watch thing at the end there, wrote in this big long explanation of who the person was and stuff. And it was really, first of all, because of the source, you just believe it. I mean, why would Rob lie about such a thing? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. That is not within his character. And the other thing is, it really sounded like he knew what he was saying, and that this was some sort of thing. And of course, we thought, oh, well, we'll share that with everybody, but then we didn't because we forgot or we're lazy or who the hell knows what. Maybe Joel tried but couldn't find it. It's not impossible. It's happened before. And then whatever, years later, when we're just talking off the cuff, off the thing, I'm like, oh, you blah, blah, blah. You knew who that person was or whatever. And he's like, no, that was just me pranking you and seeing if I could give you some false information that you would read on the show.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And we were saved by just lying to everybody and being pranked by Rob just by our own sort of lackadaisical incompetence. So it does show you, kids, don't, try hard at school, but don't try too hard. You really can sort of avoid some issues by just laying back in the weeds every once in a while. So
Indeed.
All right, video. So Warner Brothers Archive. So a couple of good things that are good news. One thing, and I hope this means a disc comes, but discs are really just for me and Rob, and it's really just me and Rob at this point.
Mhm.
But high definition version of Martin Scorsese's Not Chasey.
Scorsese.
Yeah, not Scorsese, but Scorsese or Scorsese is showing up. His version of the 1974 film Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, which is one of his very best films. Not one of those most flamboyant. In fact, it's in the debate of least flamboyant Martin Scorsese film. Is on Turner Movie Classics in a high definition form that you can get on demand, and it's not first of all, it's not a visual splendid feast or whatever. But it's an early 70s movie that, in its sort of pan and scanned gray soup version that's existed really all these years, is the only one you could really watch. It's back to being a really lovely looking film, and Ellen Bernstein and Chris Christopherson, like, it's a really, really great human story, the likes of which we still see every once in a while, which is kind of neat. We saw that film that with the controversial Oscar nomination in it, Alice, I can't remember what it's called. Sorry. Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. It was that kind of movie. Like, it's a quiet personal film. And it was a really interesting choice for him to do around that time. And I love it. And I think if you're willing to travel back to 1974 and watch a movie that might bore your children, almost certainly will. I still just think it's worth seeking out. It looks great. I'm really enamored with it. Amazon had it for a while, but I think as things, like Joel said, like NBC Universal with and Peacock with Cocaine Bear, I think that now that things are just
siloing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the term. The word I was proprietarized.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's even a word, but I think you get what I'm saying. I think it's on basically in the Turner network and within the Warner family to stay.
Yeah.
And yet I think it's something that HBO Max wouldn't, especially now that they're run by the idiot Discovery people, would not find a value to use bandwidth on. But it's great. It's a great film. And the other one that is coming to disc officially, also by Martin Scorsese about a decade later, is After Hours.
Oh, Get Out. That's awesome.
And After Hours is the same. It's like, he's a renowned filmmaker. Both of these films were, I mean, neither of them were monster hits or anything, but both of them were really well regarded at the time that they appeared on the scene. And they're just what, there are those things. I have a whole list of them, but these are two that have been on them consistently throughout the years. It's like, where are these? What at least take the videotape scan or the Laserdisc scan and just give us a properly matted, widescreen version of that. That would be a huge improvement over what we're dealing with here and what we've been asked to watch. But these are really After Hours is not a Warner Archive. Warner, it was an Orion film, I want to say. So it was licensed out. So Warner Brothers at the time, but not really anymore. So it was licensed out to Criterion with some neat supplements that I know have already been done that I've watched ages ago. And After Hours, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore is the story of this waitress in the Southwest who's just making a go as a single mom, and that's it. That's the movie, you know. So okay, not a lot of high stakes. There's no jets to learn how to fly or cyclos to defeat, but it's really, really great, and really outstanding performance by one of the best actors of her generation. It might be her best performance, and she's great in a lot of things. Whereas After Hours, it's got sort of a parade of people you recognize, but no real big stars in it. It stars Griffin Dunne in his best on-screen performance, and
it's got a ton of names in it that like you're like, oh my god, yeah. But you're right. Yeah. There's not like there's no like Murderer's Row, but it's Griffin Dunne, Rosanna Arquette, Linda Fiorentino, Terry Garr, John Hurd, Catherine O'Hara. Bronson Pinchot is in it.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's like all these people that you recognize their names, but
it's on the list. It's not for kids, so it sidesteps some things that would make it ideal, but it's on the list of, to me, the most quintessentially 80s movies. It really does live in the Reagan 80s, like in a way that because of its sort of dreamlike and absurdist nature, it has this ability to achieve. It's a dark comedy, which I don't normally like. It's about a guy who gets, strikes up just a dude who works at an ad agency or something, or some place.
An ordinary word processor. That's what he's described.
That's right. That's because Pinchot is seen as him showing him how the word processor work, and he's like, oh, that's basically it. That's how the movie starts. And Bronson's like, okay, thanks. Yeah. He goes, well, if you have any questions, ask me. He's like, yeah, boy, I hope I'm not doing this for very long. This sucks, or whatever. And you can kind of see I guess what I do does suck. And then he just sort of goes back to doing it. Like it's not a, what? It doesn't suck. There's these subtleties in all these exchanges done, and this is interesting to watch, and it's necessary because this film gets so out of hand crazy by the time it's over. It gets just bonkers crazy, which is fun. He's by the end of it, he's running from a mob of angry people. You know what I mean? Like it's this dark descent into this sort of neon lit mid-80s abyss of Manhattan, essentially.
Yeah.
And but it starts with that simple moment and this simple like conversation that he has with everybody's sort of pixie dream girl of choice at the time, Rosanna Arquette, who just at a diner is just talking to him about books, and she ostensibly, but in a clever way, sort of gives him her number by giving him her roommate's number, who her roommate sells these little things, and he, whatever. So, and of course he's transfixed by Rosanna, and nobody used Rosanna Arquette's seductive and abrasive powers as better than Martin Scorsese did in this film and in his New York Stories film, Life Lessons. If you've never seen Life Lessons, New York Stories is pretty weak. The Coppola film isn't very good, and I don't like the Woody Allen film at all. But the Life Lessons is one of the greatest short films maybe ever. It's really, really good, and she is largely to do with that, because she really is that infuriating ex-girlfriend that you still love, but that you wish you could be free of, and you can't be. And she again plays it straight, and it works marvelously. She does something similarly brilliant in this, because that's a film where visually it's done simply, and it was made very, very quickly, while Scorsese was trying still to set up Last Temptation of Christ. So he was really just came in and made this thing, but everyone who worked on it said, it was really neat because it was a little different. It wasn't the mad genius coming in and okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna order. He was really like seeking to be collaborative and get everybody's ideas, and to just, let's just do this. Hey, we blocked off these streets of New York, so let's add this stuff. Let's just do weird stuff.
Yeah.
It has that zany quality to it. Griffin's fantastic in it, and he's a filmmaker in his own right, a pretty good one. So he in the supplements and stuff, he talks about the experience in this fantastic way. One of my favorite actors to listen to talk about remembering stuff. My absolute favorite is probably Keith Gordon from Christine and Jaws 2 and Dressed to Kill, which I don't even like, but just listening to Keith, like the way he tells a story is so cool. And Griffin has that exact same quality. So that's been streaming too in high def. So I don't know where on that one, but I really do know that you can go out and check that out. Every time these things that really aren't going to sell thousands and thousands of copies make it to disc, it's because there's been a restoration made for streaming, for a broadcast version, essentially. So I'm really, really, as from a Video Corner standpoint, you haven't heard from us in a while, and these are both pretty nerdy, like art house films, kind of. They're not really art house films, but because they were the mainstream films of their day. But I think that the films today that they compare to are purely, off to the side festival films, if you will. Yeah. But I think that's great. It is neat to go back to 1984 or whatever it was and watch a movie that's not, Gremlins or, you know what I mean? That's not that sort of kiddie movie that we're all in love with, even the bad ones from that era. It's great to watch like a really good movie that's also trying to be really funny and entertaining, which it is. Yeah. So Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, and by a renowned filmmaker, and After Hours, both available soon or now, even for one of them.
After Hours you can it says it's available on HBO Max, which apparently is now just going to be called Max. Oh, okay.
That's okay.
It's fine.
I come to HBO for the HBO, man.
Yeah, me too.
I don't come for the chef competitions. I don't come for the Shark Week. Like I that's a brand that I'm the Warner Brothers HBO brand is one that I'm pretty loyal to. And I'm not super happy that it's been invaded by it. And it's weird because it's a merger, but because Discovery is the make it on the cheap money maker, and they're the ones that don't have cash flow issues. Right. They're the ones that are sort of in charge of all this now, and that may change. We all remember when Warner Brothers was taken over by AOL, and the AOL people did not last long, and eventually it went back to being what it was. Yeah. That won't happen in this case, I don't think, but I am hoping there will be some equaling out. Really sad to see things like, prestige things like Westworld, like just sent off to
just like,
it's still out there, but now it's with commercials and stuff. Like it's been diminished greatly, and that bums me out. Those sorts of decisions is like you. Yeah. But hey, it's if it's streaming After Hours, it can't be entirely evil.
We'll see. Am I going to see Ben and Aaron Napier from Hometown on the final season of Barry? I hope not.
No, you're not. And you're not. As a matter of fact, one of the big edicts in their defense, the Discovery CEOs and such, one of their in defense of them, one of their big things was, we're gonna start to compartmentalize this stuff. HBO original programming is award-winning, and it is prestige television. Even the stuff that's not super popular, it's high quality people making really high quality stuff, and we want that wing of us to be that, and we want Warner Brothers Pictures to be DC movies and to be the monster movies and to be this sort of great thing. We want to kind of put everything back in its place. and they're embracing the good things about the different divisions of WB and Time Warner and the different publishing divisions and stuff. So that some good might come of that. But the reality is that Max is still going to be this dumping ground for this very tug and pull sort of different kind of content, and how that all lives comfortably with each other, or how one loses out at the expense of the other will definitely be interesting to see. And it does. I'm not contradicting you, Joel. It does fill me with dread, truly. But I think that sort of thing where it's like, let's use this to promote that. Like, I think they really, from the HBO content, they really want the opposite of that. They want it to be doing its thing and really focusing on it, what it's good at and what it delivers to a fairly captive audience. More dragons, more. Yeah. Let's really get into the stuff that we have here that people want to see, that we know we're good at, and do that. And that could result in good works, I hope. I said all along, streaming will be the bane of quite a bit of legacy entertainment that will have no place else to live once it's abandoned. And that's not totally the case with this. You can still go watch Westworld, and other shows that they did the same thing to, but what a weird one to pick. I don't love that show, but it's really takes chances, and it really does all the things that you want, and an exciting, really smart thing to be, and to have it be like, now it's like a Tubi thing or whatever. I don't remember where it went, but it just bums me out.
Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, Westworld doesn't live here anymore.
It doesn't, and it's sad.
Westworld. Why did HBO remove Westworld? Well,
I know the whys of it, not so much the where.
Listen, internet, Ryan just told you. So now, geez, this is saying that you can watch it. It's pretty much only available on Prime Video that you have to pay for.
Oh, really? Well, no, I thought they put it someplace where you can absolutely, now you don't even have to, like someplace where you don't even have to subscribe. But again, if you don't have to pay and you don't have to subscribe, then why does it exist? It's not to provide you the great content you want. It's to provide you with advertising, targeted marketing. And that's where I believe it is. But we don't have to look that up for people. Yeah. The jury's out on Westworld. It's over. It was cut a season short. And it really got complicated to the point of being almost impossible to follow somewhere in there. And it's not like you couldn't follow it. It's not that kind of complicated, but it really did seem to lose track of it. We seemed to reinvent itself into something it wasn't a couple of times. And that's a difficult thing for a show to do. That show felt like a limited series and probably should have stayed one. And I think if it did, it would have been much beloved.
You were right. It's Tubi.
It is Tubi. I was right.
Yep.
Honey, our movie's coming out this week. Good for you, dear. But it's on Tubi. Oh, that's too bad.
And that is the story of Tubi.
Yep. And that's Ryan's Video Corner for the day.
Ryan's Video Corner. God, I'm really happy. I was like, oh my God, please don't tell me I accidentally deleted it off the soundboard here. That would have crushed me a little bit.
I just send it to you again.
Yeah, but yeah. Yeah.
No need to be crushed.
No need to be crushed.
But it was nice to hear it. There's a short version that we normally play at the end, but well, let's not go look for that.
I don't have I don't.
You don't even have that
at all. Yeah, I don't.
There's just a video. It's what you want to watch, just by itself, so that to tag the end. We're gonna do. Yeah. When we first conceived of this show, we were gonna do it like one of those sports debate shows, with like horns going off and just stuff constantly happening, like like the Kramer show, that we sort of mock when we do our stock market entertainment.
Yeah, it was It's gonna be all
Yeah.
that.
All that stuff we said in an effort to make our podcast as podcasty as possible. And we still do a little bit of it, but it's not obviously
Mm-hmm.
we just never got too much into that. And we didn't segment this much. We keep saying, well, man, if we're gonna talk about Aeon Flux, it's gonna take the whole 2 hours, folks. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the show sort of turned into that. We still do them. We did one last week, or we didn't do one last week. Hey, do you still have the whatever the hell you were going to do from last week?
Dr. Clock's Time Glorious Mind Scrabula?
Yeah, if you still have those questions, man, we could do that at any time here in this mystery episode.
Yeah. I mean, I have so many. That's the thing is about the Mind Scrabula is I may have asked some of these before, but the answers are going to be different every time.
We'll see.
Yeah,
I feel pretty consistently about things throughout the years.
No, I know you do, but some of them, might surprise you.
I'm out of preset topics other than previewing future episodes, so I say let it rip.
Real quick though, So this is a real niche thing, and completely the dumb thing, but I wanted to get your opinion on it. So I finally saw Meet the Fabelmans. And I enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting it to be two films, because it really, and I liked the first film much better than the second film.
Sure.
That the second half seemed a little bit more like an after school special. But the very last moment.
The very last moment.
The very, very last moment. Our hero, Sam, has had this once in a lifetime opportunity to meet John Ford. John Ford gives him the advice: horizon at the top of the screen, interesting. Horizon at the bottom of the screen, interesting. Horizon in the middle of the screen is crap.
Boring as shit.
Yeah, boring as shit. And then he leaves and he has this, moment of like, where everything's going to be all right. Our hero's journey truly begins now.
Right. How could a Spielberg movie end any other way than that?
But that cute little camera move of moving the horizon down to the bottom.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. It feels like too cute by half.
No, look, the more you know, you're not wrong. But the thing about The Fabelmans, it is a good movie. The reason it's not being perceived as a great movie is it's the ways in which it really, really works are in these very personal ways that require you coming to it with a knowledge of two things, a deep knowledge of two things. One, the biography that plays out in front of your eyes. He didn't embellish stuff or really make anything up. The after school special, as you say, those relationships really happened. Those incidents really happened. Those films were really made in that way. They actually exist. Mm-hmm. They've been dramatized to protect the innocent in the Fabelmans, but all that's real. And because it's real biography, it's very, very episodic and very sort of tonally different, like your life is. It's not a consistent journey really at all. Mm-hmm. But if you really understand him, you can feel the truth in it. You can feel the whole movie. And this is why why I think it's really wonderful. And this is just me making my case for it. You go back and you think about the single moms, the put upon single moms in the early Spielberg films, in the E.T. most specifically, but in Close Encounters, and there's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
And how the dad is absent, and how the dad's absence and whatever they reaching out through time that they do, whatever little they do, whatever news reaches our heroes from them being afar is always hurtful and devastating. And those things in his art are very real things. They're very real, like him dealing with his life. And that's in his early life. In his later adult life, as he grew up, partly just as he grew up and understand that there was nuanced things going on and many different things going on he didn't understand. The other thing that was going on that he really didn't understand was that his father, who he felt abandoned by, was putting a brave face on everything that was happening in order to protect his mother's reputation in the eyes of his kids. And the film shows you that. And it shows a kid not accepting that. And that is a devastating thing to watch play out on screen. It really is to me. Even just talking about it, I get really, really worked up. So it's an artist, one of the most renowned artists of his time here at the end of his filmmaking career. You know, I think he'll go on making a bunch of movies, but this was, you know, West Side Story was, well, what movie do you want to make before it's too late? You know, what movie do you want to get in while they're still pulling the Brinks truck up into your office and dumping a bunch of money on you? Like, what is it? That was it.
Yeah.
What movie are you compelled to make before you can't make movies anymore? Is The Fabelmans. And it's because all that drama and like I say, it's not enough. You don't have to just go read the autobiography or watch the excellent, I believe, HBO Max documentary, which is fantastic.
Yeah. It's so good. It's very good. Yeah.
Or just watch all he's a guy who doesn't do commentaries where he talks over movies, but he loves talking about his movies. So there's tons of great stuff about really all his key films out there to read and to watch. So that's the art side of it, and then there's the personal side of it. But the thing that the movie shows you is that it's not; those aren't the sides. Those are this. They're very much together and messy. And The Fabelmans is very much together and messy reckoning that a person's coming to with his relationships and his biography and the redemption of his father, played by Paul Dano brilliantly, is and his effort to do that while still being honest. I just found it incredibly powerful. But like I said, I come to it with this. Well, I'm analyzing the themes of all these films deeply and forever, and I'd never stop. And him having delivered some of my favorite films ever, like I'm deeply into what he does as a storyteller and who he is as a person. And we talked about it on the show. When we talked about this in the Year in Review thing a few years back, I said, it's weird. It's a weird relationship. It's weird and almost distressing to me how much Spielberg and his stories mean to me and how little I mean specifically to him.
That's right. Yes.
It's like, it bothers me.
And he has that relationship with so many, you know, with millions of people.
Exactly. And it's just, and I think he knows that, but I think, you know, he's an individual. The audience are still the audience, though. It's, you know what I mean? Like he'll do an interview or whatever, he'll do this or that, but he doesn't, in his life, he doesn't just gear up to meet the fans. And he's maybe he did at one point, but he really doesn't do that anymore. And so it's tricky and weird, but I think I have a very personal reaction to him. Again, maybe not this or that, maybe not Jurassic Park or something, but his style and his sort of the things that the story that he retells through time. I have a very visceral reaction to that, and watching it being played out with his biography in it. I really do think is wonderful.
So then at the very end of the movie, when the frame nudges up like that, that's Spielberg inserting himself into the story directly.
Right.
And to me, I was like, it's not like I went, oh my God, I can't believe that. It was just like,
if he meets John Ford in the middle of the movie and then that happens at the end after he's done having a heart-to-heart with his mom or something, like, no, thank you. But that whole ending scene is
this is literally the denouement. We've already had the climax of everything. Everything's already happened. This is literally just our,
and it's almost sketch comedy in its delivery. So to me, he's. Yeah. You know, the ends of Spielberg movies, we could just talk about the endings.
Oh, that might be a fun show.
I didn't mean just the endings, but like just the very endings, you know what I mean? I feel like they're better discussed in the context of the films. But go back and listen to us talk about the very ending of The Terminal and the very ending of War of the Worlds. Like the very endings, you know what I mean? They come up in that little suite of films that we did of his.
Yeah.
It's all there for you to hear, and this is another one where it's I get why it's like it's well, we need to talk about this, but it's just like the rest of Fabelmans. It comes at the end of this long line of stories that he shared with us, and it just makes perfect sense and should be there. He from behind the camera, he really does deserve a moment like that, and it is set up great. It's not one of those you know what I mean? It really is set up great. That final scene with not just David Lynch, which is amazing, but it's so entertaining. But was it Greg Grunberg?
Yeah,
who plays the TV guy?
Yeah,
the whole thing is this. It's neat. It's a great place to end it, and I absolutely like the horizon changing in the final shot. Yeah.
Okay.
No question.
Yeah. It was. I was watching it and I was just like, okay.
Because when I watch Fabelmans, I feel him there the whole time. It really isn't a story that I got lost in. It's a thing where I was aware that the filmmaker is showing you his life in all the ways he can, and in the most honest way he can. You know, and I think the film feels that way, and I love it for that.
That's really an astute observation. I like that, because I think maybe that was part of it too. Is you're watching it knowing that this, you're watching Steven Spielberg's life story, and it feels like there's an element of it almost feels like he's sitting over here watching you watch his
yeah, totally
story.
So totally the common thing, because he sort of brought it to them, and he treated it with the actors and stuff and the designers like it was any other movie essentially. You know, that there's no real other way to do it. I don't think he stuck with his time-honored method of filmmaking. But the performers, it became a running gag. They would come up to him after some particularly strange thing and be like, did this really happen? And Michelle Williams said the answer, every time I asked him, the answer was always yes, just like this. This all happened. You know, but he wouldn't say, he didn't come out and make the big, this all happened and it's my life speech. Like, he was really coy about making it, because I think he's really, really insecure about the stuff that's there. And
it's.
I think that's I think was always going to be very misunderstood film, but I really do think it. Even though people weren't wowed by it in a triumph of the human spirit sort of way, because it is not that kind of story. It's clumsy and weird and goofy, like his life was. And I just feel like even the corny parts, even the, like you say, the big graduation dance or whatever, like that's a filmmaker making a movie about this thing that he's not gotten over and hasn't been able to deal with.
Yeah, to me, like, okay, the way the last moment is Spielberg inserting me in to me, the moment that I absolutely loved, where it was Spielberg, kind of inserting himself a little bit, was I don't want to ruin it for people who haven't seen it, but there's this very climactic conversation between a school, one of his school fellow students and Sammy, and the guy's like, don't you ever, don't ever talk about this, don't tell anyone that we ever had this conversation, and he goes, unless I make a movie about it. Kind of like trying to be funny and lighten every, right, hey buddy, and it was like, and I loved that because here he is making a movie about that,
Right.
and that, and it's like, I loved him inserting himself in that little moment, and so that, I don't know, yeah. It's just me. I was just really curious, and I was curious as to I remember watching it, and after the little nudge of the horizon happened, I was like, I want to ask Ryan about that. So I just want.
And here we are. It's the second movie that Seth Rogen is really, really good in.
Yeah, and interesting.
So it earns its existence just really on that alone.
Yeah. I mean,
now there's not just the one movie, there's two, everybody.
Yeah.
That's two. It's not a lot because he makes a lot of movies, but it's a pattern. It's a pattern now. And I really do think that's significant because he's really is good in it. He feels very like he's very Seth Rogen-y in it. Like he's really well cast in it as this sort of go-lucky whatever guy, but that character not succumbing to the melodrama of the moments he's involved in, the meaningful moments he's involved in, the way he keeps the facade up all the time, even when he's saying some of the most important stuff in the film, that scene on the sidewalk with the camera and whatever, is good. That's a good performance. That's a great take on how he would do it. And it wouldn't be, oh, now listen, kid, it wouldn't be the inspirational speech. It would be, look, I don't love it, but like he a guy who has like betrayal written all over him, and yet just manages to maintain the party line of his life. Like it's a very, very good performance, and I really, really dig that too. So obviously Michelle Williams is stunning. The young woman who plays his sister is fantastic. It's more than one kid, right, that plays Sam in it.
But even young Sam is very good.
And it's not There Will Be Blood, histrionics, but it's as good as you'll ever see Paul Dano in anything.
Paul Dano,
and he's so good, but he's like, there's a group of these guys of his age, Joaquin Phoenix, and they're also way out there that when they sort of settle into a person, it's a wonder to behold, and I sort of love that about it.
It really, the way, and I can't remember the character name, but the way Paul Dano as Mr. Fableman, the way he looks at Michelle Williams whenever she's doing anything, it is just with a look of absolute love and devotion that he knows isn't being reciprocated at that level, and like you see it, and it's just all right there, and you feel it.
It is not stated, and it's just like
stated ever,
just like it was for young Sam. It wasn't stated. They didn't talk about it, and so he forgot about it or ignored it or whatever, or let the pain of it falling apart fester within him to the point that he was calling his dad out in his own great works constantly. And now here he is showing that every chance the film has. And like I said, that absolutely melts my heart and it's just an amazing thing. But it is a thing like the Horizon line. It is a thing that's very much kind of up here, somewhat outside of the story itself. But I that's why I loved it. That's my defense of it. It was one of my favorite films of last year because I do sort of see why it, even though I don't know anyone who hates it, I do see why it missed its mark somewhat. But I think by necessity, it was always going to do that. I think it was the only way to be really as honest as he could be within his art.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying the same thing different ways over.
Yeah, and it is important to note, like Spielberg working with Tony Kushner, so this material in the hands of a lesser writer could have gotten off the rails. These characters in the hands of lesser actors could have gone off the rails. So it really was, you know, a wonderful collaboration that, you know, to elevate this story from just because like you said, some of the elements are absolutely kind of like, I mean, there's a monkey that comes into it, and it's yeah, that happened, and like and you're like, what? And it's like, yeah, but it works. It still works because it is handled in this very these characters are so well developed, and
yeah, right. But it has all the cheesy melodrama and all the heightened emotion of a Spielberg film. That's in all of them all.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sidestep any of that, like, and just make some understated statement. It's not doing that at all. It's very easy to roll with the emotional punches throughout the film, because hitting the right emotional notes is something he just does instinctively. But it's also does feel like a bit of a show. But it all does. Even the best films, even Schindler's List, has its moments where you're like, that are just so intentionally ironic, and I just kind of sigh at them, like, this could have been, you know, this could have just been left alone to be what it was without all the extra shit. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I say that there's a moment like that in every one of his films, and multiple moments, and there's a handful of them in this one. But you have to kind of be down with that, because you can't make the guy take that away and then expect him to be great in all the ways you like either. Like, it's all tied together. And so I'm glad. It's a great question, because it brought up interesting discussion. And it turns out I had a lot more to say about Fabelmans than I kind of got to in my little
right
1/5 of the show thing from weeks. And because I think more people have seen it now. I think I was one of the first people to see it, at least at home. There's more discussion out there about it, and there's more basically sort of, a lot of people are greeting that film with a shrug, and I don't think that's invalid. I sympathize with that. Mm-hmm. But I adored it because
it's lovely. I mean, it really is a lovely film.
And I'll just say again, a similar film by a very different kind of filmmaker, but a very same sort of project that I really adored, is James Gray's Armageddon Time.
Oh yeah.
I kind of put them together when we reviewed them, but that's the same thing. That's a guy. Now, this is a different kind of filmmaker. Gray reminds me of an American John Borman, who made Deliverance and Excalibur and Emerald Forest and Zardoz, Joel's favorite. Zardoz, but Borman and you know, a whole bunch of films. Anyway, a really renowned guy, and he basically made, just like Hemingway sort of wrote the same novel over and over again.
Sorry, I just wanted to get some Zardoz.
No, I get it. Even with Zardoz, Borman basically made the same story over and over and over again. He just set it someplace different, did it slightly different. There are artists that are like that, the writer directors, you know, that their approach, like, you really do feel it. So Spielberg has a lot of variety, but James Gray, Ad Astra, Z for, or Zed, I guess it would be, but Lost City of Z, sorry, The Immigrant, We Own the Night. He's basically the same. He's grapples with these same things in all of his films. And one of them takes place, you know, in the 1890s, and one of them takes place in outer space, and one of them takes place in, you know, equatorial Brazil or whatever. And they're all stories of obsession, and they're all stories of coping between generations. And they're great. I don't love them all, but they're really, really good. And the last two, Lost City of Z and Ad Astra, if you really want to dig deep into some tough stuff that looks amazing and is, incredibly well done. I can't recommend those enough. Like, he's really getting hot right now, and he seems a little young compared to Spielberg to look back on his childhood. Although Armageddon Time isn't from childhood to adult story. It's very much a year in the life of of him as a child. It's tough. There's abuse in it. The character doesn't always act the way you want. It really is a guy who's judging himself for some of the things that he wished he'd done differently, even as a child. That's interesting, though, to me. The father, as you would expect from a James Gray film, the father-son relationship and thing is really... The father's not a monster except when he is, and he's not a wise sage except when he is. He's this really complicated and very, very understandably angry person. The film understands why this guy is the way he is. That understanding, to me, when I was watching the film, is cathartic. And just really interesting, different kind of performances by people on the periphery. Anne Hathaway, Anthony Hopkins, like, it's just them doing a different kind of movie. And it's another one where it doesn't end with a fun scene with a director hero cameo and a clever little wink at the camera. It ends in a really dark place. It's a dark episode from this guy's life. But I also very much felt the truth and complexity in it. He was asked, well, what would your dad think if he saw this movie? And he goes, well, I hate to say it, but I'm glad that my dad's gone so that he could see the movie, because I don't know that I could make it if he was here, even though I don't think, like, that's not now he's gone and I can finally dish the dirt on him. It's not that kind of thing. It's that feeling of you walk into a room with your dad and you're at odds about something, and how does that go? How do you even start that? Or you're not at odds about something, you're giving some tribute to him that shows the hardships that are also there. How do you do that? It's very much a sort of late 50s, early 60s tale, and child rearing during that time was a whole different thing. And I really, really dig it. There's this weird subplot about this sort of semi street urchin kid that he befriends and stuff, and that he sort of denies, in like a apostle biblical sort of way in a really key moment. Armageddon Time, that's another one where it didn't get nominated for a bunch of Oscars. I probably wasn't gonna, but it really is that those films that live in that. They're not the big streaming hits, and they're certainly not the things you feel you have to get out to theaters to see. I really think magic of storytelling, it's all happening in those types of projects. And there's a whole bunch of them we talked about. There were a lot of them. The Whale, Women Talking, where that really did sort of get their moment in the sun. Fabelmans, oddly, it got some Oscar love, but it didn't get any Oscar love, and that was because of Spielberg. Armageddon Time got nothing because Hollywood doesn't owe James Gray anything. He's as counter Hollywood as you could possibly be as a film director. He's not against them, but he's, even Ad Astra, even the big space adventure is like just constantly pushing the boundaries of what something like that could possibly be, while still trying to justify its budget by entertaining you and wowing you. It's fun to watch that struggle in all of his work. I didn't know what I felt like about him for a while, but I know now after these last 3 films that he's a guy that I really, really like and can't wait for the next thing. Even though it's going to be the same thing as all the other things, or maybe not.
Yeah, he's got a movie that he's working on here. It'll give me, let's see, and it is called James Gray, director. It is called, I just had it, I was looking at it. It is called I Am Pilgrim.
Sounds good.
A former spy is called up out of retirement to assist in an unusual investigation, probably regarding his father.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll find out. That's funny.
Yep.
That's
So,
great. Sign me up.
Yep.
Sign me up.
Yep, we'll be there.
All right, Time Scrabula, it's your turn.
All right, here we go. Let's go a little. Let's see if Ryan doesn't hate me after a little bit of Dr. Clock's Time Glorious Mind Scrabula.
Gonna go back in time.
You would go back in time.
Gonna go back in time.
I'm gonna step back in time and fix it.
There we go. All right. So here's one that's kind of pandemic related. And about any movie like
I thought we were done with that.
the old Pandini.
I don't know how many times I've heard that. Everybody I know, practically everyone I work with, everyone I was doing the play with, we all got COVID just in the last couple months.
Mm-hmm.
And when I tell people when I had it, they're like, "Well, I thought that was over." It's like, come on. We want it to be over, but come on. That's so silly.
Yeah, I mean,
I remember that was the thing that came out just a couple months into it. I am so over this, but that's not going to stop it,
right?
Is it? Right. You person who I don't esteem greatly. Anyway.
Well, I'm going to have a COVID party so I can just get it done with.
Well, there's although that worked out horribly for people, resulting in people's deaths, but I halfway understand. I don't want to sit here and be fearful of this, and I can't commit to this.
Yeah,
this isolation, I can't. I really do get some people are like that. So let's do it and get it over with. Once the shots came out, I really got it. But yeah, before that, Jesus, there's this. Not to bring the Time Scrabula totally down into the just darkness of reality, but there was
that's where Dr. Klotz lives.
The father and the child both got COVID, and she exposed herself deliberately so they could just get over it, and she ended up dying, and that is as tragic and harsh a thing as you're ever going to hear, and those stories of COVID are still very real. They were still refrigerated. Semi trucks parked outside of hospitals because they didn't have enough room for the bodies in the morgue. People who treat that like it was all just something we were imagining or something we overreacted to suck, because it I don't know that our reaction in the end made a lot of sense, but I know that given the information that we had, it was really the best we could do, and it absolutely saved people's lives. It saved mothers and daughters and fathers and sons' lives. And so it can't be all bad. And though I don't yearn for those days to come back,
right?
I'm like,
not a conversation for our show here. But as someone who works in the disability community, this mass disabling event is fascinating to see how people are reacting to our crappy healthcare system and etc. in this country.
Yeah, it's something that people with real medical issues and real problems are already know. We as a society, we needed to be confronted with that. And of course, the one good thing that's come out of it, or maybe it's good, it's ongoing, but it has fundamentally changed the American workforce for the better.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, people just are
they're trying, big business is trying. They're trying to figure out, they're trying to spin it so that they can somehow convince people that, they'll blame kids, they'll blame different nationalities, they'll blame abilities, they'll do whatever, but they got to try to, because they need, how do we get people to be thrilled with only getting paid a crappy little amount of money again?
Working their ass off or nothing. We want to go back to those days. Kidding. No doubt. Anyway, Joel, just as an aside, before we really dive into some time traveling, on that note, it's always, just between you and me and everyone listening, it's always a good time to bring up people who struggle with disabilities and stuff like that. This is just, I know we don't make that a main topic of our discussion, and there are lots of places you can go, that a lot of things, a lot of projects that Joel's involved with where you can engage on that in a really meaningful way, in a very personal way. But there's always a little room for it here from my perspective. Just it's a safe space for that stuff.
Yes. I think that may end up being a topic of a show I bring up at some point. Cool. Is how we talk about these things in movies. Anyway, Dr. Clock is really really getting mad at me now here for not
he's like, what are you guys getting all deep for?
What I was gonna ask is throughout the last few years, are there any movies that you wish you could tell yourself, no, find a way, go see this in the theater? Tenet was the first one that was like, we're gonna only release in the theater and make people come out and see it. Like,
it was the number one movie in America for 4 months, even though it didn't really make a lot of money. right, because it's like, well, it was a weird time, and filmmaker was a little frustrated, but I think Warner made a good call with Tenet. Tenet's weird, and it's difficult to wrap your brain around when you're watching it, and even though it's everything you could want from like a big sort of sci-fi action spy movie, which is basically it's this hybrid of those things. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's particularly difficult to unwire. It reminds me of Memento in that way, where you don't know what you're going through as you're experiencing it, but once you've seen it, you get what happens. I think you should anyway. Yeah. And when you watch it again, you watch it in a whole different way. And of course, Christopher Nolan, same kind of guy. I'm going off on a tangent, but I just watched Tenet, and I think it's fun to kind of talk about. Watched it for the third time or whatever. Nolan's the same kind of guy where all his movies are about how we experience things, the weird different ways that filmmaking in particular, but writing, storytelling, the weird, unbelievable ways in which we can experience things differently through the magic of the imagination and how that affects us. Some are a little less so. Dunkirk, the timing's all scrambled up, but that's not really but where our lead character ends in Interstellar and what he's doing and where he is all about perception and the prestige, the magic trick as a metaphor for filmmaking. Mm-hmm. Inception, that's probably the biggest one, where everything is about how we perceive things and that sort of the unique difference that comes from that. Chris Nolan's a guy who, from the get-go, from his very first film, is like Borman. For a big blockbuster filmmaker, he's telling the same story over and over and over again. To some degree, he's obsessed with this idea, and that idea is the engine that drives each and every one of these movies. And Tenet doesn't have it doesn't have like, we were arguing if Tenet or Interstellar was better, me and a buddy of mine, and I'm like, oh, Interstellar's better. I mean, I really like Tenet. Tenet feeds my intellect and it excites me, and I get really, really involved in the ideas, and just how they pulled it off visually is amazing. But Interstellar has the little girl mad at her daddy and stuff. It has these emotional pegs that are universal and that work on your heart. And that makes the science, which is completely speculative and sort of bonkers, work, because it has all that incredible emotional stuff in it. The time debt, Tenet, it's got an abusive relationship in it that I think if you care, you get a little involved in. It's got a couple of buddies finding their self in reverse order of how history takes place. It's interesting to me. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it doesn't have that. It doesn't have that little girl screaming for her father not to leave her. I mean, that just rips me up every time I see it. Yeah. There's nothing like that in Tenet. There's nothing like that in The Prestige, which I love. There's not much like that even in like the Batman films and stuff. That's the thing in Interstellar that all kind of sets it apart from just about all of these. We all have a common emotional connection to that. So Joel, you were about Times Square was about to ask a question before I went off on Christopher Nolan.
No, that's great. But I was just gonna, because I remember, and we brought up Rob before. Rob was one who was like, no, I want to see Tenet in the theater, and so he did. He essentially hazmat suited up and went in there and watched it in the theater and was like, oh my god, it was a great, it was amazing. Now that we're looking back and we've had this whole slew of movies, and some of them just delayed until they felt it was safe to go back in the theater.
We're and stuff. We're beyond that, and we're back into the regular sort of cycle. Although that cycle has been greatly diminished because we're only in theaters. Really, are only giving you must see in the theaters, and not only, but really. Almost compared to before, only giving you this kind of there isn't that, you go over to the West End here and there's, it's 10 screens or whatever. And most of them have the big films on it. Whereas the theaters like the one down in Eden Prairie, where there's 20 screens and they had literally every single film and release, even if it was a teeny tiny little thing that they knew no one was going to come to, all of it was there. We've gone through several award seasons. And The Fabelmans is a perfect example. Here's a film that was out. It was in theaters, but it was out for 4 weeks. It went to streaming 4 weeks later. Streaming not being I can watch Fabelmans on Netflix, but streaming meaning now I can pay $29 to watch Fabelmans at home. Yeah. Because that money, that old people movie money where that to a lot of people that's a night out at the movies. It's I mean, to me it's like I'm not spending $20 or $29 on a film that I'm gonna be able to watch reasonably for whatever my subscription costs in a few weeks. Right. I can't afford to do that, but a lot of people can. A lot of people are like, well, like it wouldn't be any cheaper if we went down there and bought a Snickers or whatever at the theater. I mean, it's just the economics of it makes some sense. And those films, their very existence relies on people willing to pay those premium prices in, in that little window where it's pay-per-view before it's streaming and after it's had a limited theater run. So,
And so, having gone through all of this, and no is a perfectly acceptable answer. Is there any movie that you like that you've seen over the last just couple of years that you were like, damn, I wish I could have seen that in the theater on the big screen? Like take COVID out of it. Like all things being, if all things were pre-COVID and everything, and you're like, yeah, I just didn't go see it in the theater. Is there anything you were like, damn, should have gone and see that? Should have went and saw that on the big screen? Anything?
There really isn't for me. I mean, I watched Avatar: The Way of the Water a couple of weeks ago, and never once was I sitting here going, oh, I should have saw this on the big screen. And I mean, and it's as big screeny, it's as accomplished a big screen audiovisual thing as has existed. Yeah. For some time. And so it is designed to work on you properly in that setting. But I'm, the movie, and I haven't seen a movie in the theater since Captain Marvel. So pre-COVID, I've not been back to the theater for any reason. But that's not because of COVID. That's because I hate the theater because I hate other people. And I don't hate all the other people. I love 85% of the people who went to see Avatar the night I went to see it, just as an example. But 10% of them, I hate being in their presence. They don't give a shit about anything or anyone. And I just hate that. And I don't want to experience that because when I go to the movies, I bring too many expectations with me. You know what I mean? There's ways to mitigate the other people. There are times to go see stuff like when I was going to see the Star Wars movies when they first opened, I would go opening night or I would go the next night and I would go like at 10. Like I would go at times when only super fans would be tripping over themselves to see it because then at least I'd be surrounded by mostly, not entirely, but by mostly people who really would be into it and would care about it.
Yeah.
When I go see, because the movie that's going to get me back into the theater, if you're curious, Mind Scrabble,
very much so.
Will definitely be Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I am pre-signed up for that. Can't wait for it. Perhaps we're kidding ourselves like we did a little bit with the last Indiana Jones movie, but I don't feel like we are. I feel like this is going to be a whole nother kind of thing that is still also the same kind of thing. And if they can pull off that little magic trick and send that, what I think is still, even at its worst moments, is still a really good series of serials of films of a great character. I will be so grateful and so ecstatic. So I'm June 30th, 29th. I'm sure it will actually be, but I'll be there.
Awesome. Yeah, that's yeah.
So there are ones, but that's like, I can't wait a month to see the new Indiana Jones movie. It really has less to do with the big screen, as you say.
Yeah, it's
as it has to do with, I have to, and this is how I think the big films work, the Marvel movies and stuff. I don't think it's like, oh, Ant Mania or whatever is so much better on the big screen. It probably is because those films on the small screen, like like Wakanda Forever is a really good example. They're compared to something like Avatar, they're really crappily made films. Right. Compared to other films of their ilk, they're right in there in the running, and they have other charms that sort of get them to the finish line. But it makes a difference if you sitting there watching like the big weird battle at the end of Wakanda Forever on that weird ship that doesn't make any sense and stuff. And if you're in the theater and you really are overwhelmed sensually, in a sensorial sort of way, it helps. It helps sell everything that isn't quite working on the screen the way it should in a great way.
Right.
So it helps.
Absolutely.
When you watch that on the small screen, the things that are small about it really jump out at you. And and then your choice is, well, am I going to sit here? Am I going to go online and complain about every little thing, or am I going to just take this for what it is? I try really hard to do the latter. I have a podcast though, where if I really want to rant about something, I kind of can. So that helps. That helps me get it out of my system and go on with my life, Joel. But so that's a super long way of answering. Oh, is there one I wish? I'm trying to think of one, and I'm sure there is one that would have been better in the theater. A lot of things are. Look, Banshees of Inisherin, if you could see it with a group of like-minded people, would have been better in the theater.
Right.
Movies are purely manipulative things. They very few of them. We talked about a couple in the show that are a little outside of this, but very few of them require anything of you except to show up. Just show up. Yeah. And we'll do all the work for you. That's the great thing about them, honestly. We'll let you know when you're supposed to feel mad. We'll let you know when you're supposed to feel sad. I mean, they're not an interactive experience where with you and the filmmaker, they just aren't. Where the interaction happens is with you and the people surrounding you. And even if it's not a laugh out loud movie, comedy certainly works better in the theater. And there's no comedy that needs the big screen to work. It works because laughter and irreverence is infectious. And when you're surrounded by people, it just is better. It's funnier. Like the old lady who I watched Pearl Harbor with. It was better because she was there. Yep. It really was. It made Pearl Harbor like a lot better. She was into it, and then I was forced to at least politely endure it as a result. Right. You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah. I got my couple of wisecracks in to my friend, but that's it. I mean, otherwise I can't blow this off if she's all like, yeah. Yeah. So other people are the thing. I really think that. I mean, my home theater setup's pretty good. Lots of people's are really, really good. It does a lot of the work for you now, and so I don't miss that, like you say, the big screen, because to me it's all about viewing angles. A matter of fact, the coolest theater in Minneapolis, Joel, the Riverside. Yeah. Has the shittiest viewing angles of any theater that I've ever been in my whole life outside of the really small screens, like in the Harmar, maybe those were really bad. Those were really bad. Those were like, it was like watching a movie in an airplane. Truly, it was like 3 seats over there, 2 over here. The screen seems like it's 4.5 miles away.
Yep.
You know, down this long swooping tube that you're trapped in.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible. Just really awful. But even the Riverside, which is old-fashioned big theater, has a very small stage and a very small screen. So if you're sitting up in the balcony getting ready to watch something, the last movie I saw there, so it's been a long time, but the last movie I saw there was The Artist, the silent movie with and that's shot like silent movies were black and white, Academy ratio. So they've got the curtains cropping off half of their already really small screen. And it's just this little teeny thing that's like, I can't, it's like this. It's like so far away. But it didn't, you know what I mean? Like, it's just as bad. It's way worse than watching it at home in that case. And it's all about the viewing angle. So there's the science part. I won't dwell on that. But the point is, The Artist was still an awesome theater experience. I went to see it. It's a memory that I have. I went to see it with my brother and my sister-in-law back when they still wanted to be my friend. And the audience reaction to The Artist was delightful. It was so great to be in this big space full of these people reacting emotionally to that movie, that idea. That's a movie that just works. That's why it's won Best Picture. It's not because there's a lot of other gimmicky reasons it won, but it mostly just works. On everybody that sees it, it works in some way. And that's a magical thing to be a part of. So I miss being around other people. The problem is I just don't miss being around other people. Yeah. You know, and I don't see ever really embracing that. I see going to see movies in the theater is absolutely, and it was already. So this COVID didn't change this really. Yeah. But
no, I agree.
It solidified that a movie I go to see in the theater is a special occasion. And if some dipshit is on his cell phone the whole time during Dial of Destiny, I mean, I get murderous about it, and I just don't need to feel that either. Right. Honestly,
when you have that communal experience with an audience, it absolutely. What you said about it, it's not about the relationship between you and the movie that is happening. It's between you and your fellow audience members. Not to turn this into
that's where there's give and take. That's where there's participation by you. The movies, and you got to get up and take a leak. You want to go get a refill. The movie just goes right on without you. It just doesn't know you're there and doesn't care. But those other things are what make the magic, I think. And I think really good filmmakers know that. They know that. That's
not to turn this into the theater show with Joel and Ryan, but I mean that exchange between what's going on with the story and the audience, that happens a little bit more in live theater. To the extent of, just because we recently had Rob on the show again, and I remember even Rob, we told Rob what's out there, what to see, and he mentioned The Prom playing at the Chanhassen Theaters here. Went and saw that the other night, and that is a perfect example of the energy that is created in the room by the actors on stage, and the feeling of love and support in the audience, and that exchange between each other and between what is going on stage. It papers over the cracks of what is really just a badly assembled show. The show The Prom is not good. The production of The Prom at Chanhassen is quite good. It's quite good, and
that's a distinction. And when we have our theater discussions, it comes up in film and TV too, but it really is a theater thing. Is the show good? No. Is the production good? It's
good.
Worth it. You have to separate those two ideas and review them both whenever you're engaging in a theater discussion. It's
right,
true.
and I bring it up because The Prom was made into a movie. And by all accounts, I haven't seen it because I'm like, I don't, I'm not really interested. I'd rather see the show live. But people who have seen the movie are like, that is a steaming piece of crap. And I'm like, yeah. And now I know why. The show isn't very good. The songs are not well constructed. The lyrics are really really the book and the lyrics sound like they were written by someone who like an 8th grader who was really into Dawson's Creek. And and so but the beauty of the show and what the show is trying to say about inclusion and everything is all really wonderful and important, and so when you get that love and energy and exchange between
going both ways in this case, I'm still like, I still was getting a little choked up at the end at some of the moments, and and just still obviously just feeling the love in the room. And then I feel like, yeah, boy, I had a great night out of the theater seeing a wonderful production of a dumb show. So so go see it. It's a great production. Just don't expect to be moved by the artistry of the song. Hey, or maybe you will. It appears that Rob does, and he's no dummy. I think he adored just about every detail of that show.
Yeah.
It is. To be fair, I'm just saying it is sort of I'm not debating any of your finer points. You saw it, and I kind of believe you. But it tastes vary is all I'll say, and so you never know what when we talk about this. How do we engage with critics? How do we engage with post-show discussion? Please don't do post-show discussion, but you get what I'm saying. How do we? This show and my brain lives in the aftermath of stuff, the analytical aftermath and the emotional memory world of entertainment. And how do we engage with those things? This is a perfect example where Joel gave you a review that, whether you agree with Joel on the quality of Prom, the musical, you've been well informed, and he's provided real clarity on what is happening there. And that's, I always say, when you reach out to people or you're trying to figure things out, a tomato score does nothing for you. It does nothing. It absolutely does nothing. The only way to get anything, I mean, the only way that these discussions after the fact mean anything at all is if they're discussions where we try and figure things out and react to things. And I really do I don't think critics are just here to bash on, the Fantastic Four reboot or whatever. That's part of the gig, right. But we're here for the discussion to keep going, for the thing to live out here amongst us in a way. And so I'm just saying that's a review. That's the first one I've heard in a while where, like, there you go. You got everything you need to know now, even if you are 100% the other way and think Prom is a work of genius. Yeah. Joel's giving you an honest review where you can feel totally differently and still be well informed and make a good decision about whether it's something you want to go to or not. I do appreciate that. But separating the production from, that's a big step. Yeah. And asking, what is the thing? Well, what is Cocaine Bear? Before you just get super cynical about it and rip on it, what is it? Okay, did it do that? I mean, did it? Yes. I mean, then maybe, okay, it's not for you, but maybe you need to step aside and let the world go on without you for a bit. It's
like what you said about Babylon. It's like, I Babylon, because literally, like I said on the show, and I believe I think we talked about it on the show. But it was like, this movie reviewer on TikTok that I really love her takes, and she crafts really great opinions in like a 2-minute, her 2-minute reviews of something is, I mean, I really like how she talks about movies. And she loved Babylon. It was the greatest thing ever. And you hated Babylon, another person that I love and respect. And so I'm like, I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it now. And
it's not a film I tell you not to watch, but it is a film where you're better. It is a film where sending out the feelers to the critics that you trust and admire, like, it's a smart thing to do, because it is a film where you're better off having being set up not for the plot or anything, or even the approach, but just to be set up that it, like she even said, people are going to love or hate this.
Yeah.
And like I said, I hated it, but it's still you love or hate it. Like it really is that. That has value to really, really hate something.
Mm-hmm. And
you have to have loved something about it a bit to feel that way. I mean, almost, so.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, I remember you saying the movie.
It's not crap. I don't dismiss it. I'm not bored with it. I just really makes me mad, and I hate it.
Right.
It still made me feel something. That's whatever.
And that's a nuanced discussion. And that's all right. So Dr. Clock, we talked about one question, but boy, I think we answered many questions within that one question. So I think Dr. Clock is going to be very happy with
it's because we took a while to get around to him. Does he have anything else for us?
No, I think Dr. Clock is good. I think this show has come to its wonderful natural conclusion. We hope you enjoyed our ramble. This is really maybe the closest we've ever come on the podcast to just hey listener, this is what it's like sitting in a room with Ryan and I on like a Thursday night.
Hopefully that makes up for the less researched thing and the hunting and pecking on the internet and the other things that come when you're not really prepared. Because this was fun. It's fun discussion. We talked about some fun things. This is going to go out to the world. I don't know with pride, but it's good. It's as good as anything. I think these little moments are as good as anything this show has to offer. So I'm really that it worked out.
And obviously, we have. I mean, look, we have some big shows coming up. We're going to get into the Mad Max series.
May is Mad Max month, baby.
Yep, Mad Max May.
You haven't seen Michael on the show for a while.
Yeah, Michael's going to join us.
He's been making his own movies and stuff, so he's been a busy fellow, and we've been spending months reviewing last year's movie. So it'll be great to have him and that energy and that sort of nerddom circle reconnected. And Mad Max are really, really all of them are really, really extraordinary films. So they're we treat them like the sort of weird things that they are, or the action figure-y things. There's all these different sides to them, but as visual entertainments, mega accomplished, and it'll be fun to get into that side of things.
Yep.
That will be the month of May. We're going to do the 3 original films and give them each a show on their own.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So that's coming up. Obviously, if there's anything that we talked about that you are just like, I have an opinion on that, please reach out to us at the Movie Show with Joel and Ryan page on Facebook and on Instagram and TikTok and etc. And you can always email us at askjoelandryan@gmail.com. But boy, it was sure great for you to join us. Always great to talk to you, my friend Ryan.
Hey, great talking to you, bud.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to The Movie Show with Joel and Ryan. Remember, all views and opinions represented in this podcast are personal and belong solely to the speaker and do not represent those people, institutions, or organizations that the speaker may or may not be associated with, unless explicitly stated. None of these views and opinions were intended to malign or deceive. And now, here's the producers, circa 1982, to play us out.